Hi everybody and welcome back to the 76 season of Bearcat Update. I'm your host Jason Holland and we'll be updating you on how the seasons are looking for our spring sports. From the emergence of Molly Hartnett, a resurgent couple of wins in baseball, a look back on Bearcat Sports history, and everything in between. We got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. The women's basketball team heard the noise and responded with a gritty 62-54 win against Missouri Southern. Getting back to 500 on the season and getting consecutive wins since January 11th, it was Molly Hartnett doing the offensive heavy lifting as she dropped 24 points. As a team, the defense was the name of the game as they held the Lions to shooting only 37% of their shots and got back to dominating the boards once again. They out-rebounded the Lions 37-29 as Kelsey Fields led the way with 8 of her own. Unfortunately, the Bearcats couldn't keep the win streak rolling as they would fall in a heartbreaker against fifth-ranked Pittsburgh State, 61-59. Northwest led from the tip-off to the final moments after a substantial 44-28 halftime lead. It looked like the Bearcats would nab their third win against top 5 ranked opponents. However, Caely Keston's game-high 24 points wasn't enough as the Bearcats managed just 15 points in the second half. Northwest held the Gorillas to a season low in points, and the Bearcats fall to 12-13 ahead of their road trip to play Northeastern. But with more on the women's basketball team, we're going to turn to Kassidy Davis as she takes us through the journey to Caely Keston's 1,000 career points.
February 8th, 2025, history is made. 1,914 days after committing to Northwest, Caely Keston puts herself in an elite group of just 30 Bearcats to score 1,000 points. And today, we're going to go on the journey of the years of work that led her to this moment in history. After making her way from Lawrence, Kansas, Keston suited up in 17 games her freshman season and started in 9 of them. But as fate would have it, the worldwide pandemic would intervene as the Bearcats were forced to shut down the season. After spending the season learning the ropes, Keston and all spring athletes were granted an extra year of eligibility. In such a small sample size, Keston displayed a unique ability to hit the long ball as she shot 33% from behind the line. In her second crack at a freshman season, Keston would continue to show a signature ability to knock down threes. She would up her average to over 35% on the season. However, in her third season, she began carving out her role as she started a handful of the 29 appearances she made, eventually scoring a then-career-high 17 points against Central Oklahoma. But in 2023 to 2024, Keston would make a massive leap to the starting lineup and become a player for Coach Meyer to lean on as she averaged over 12 points per game and led the team in three-pointers made. She set career highs in almost every statistical category on the way to being named an MIAA Scholar Athlete honoree. And that brings us to this moment. Her hard work has paid off and she is in a tier with few Bearcats. As it sits in this season, she is the team's leading scorer as she's upped her scoring performance to over 14 points per game. She is also the MIAA's leader in three-point percentage, as well as being top 25 in Division II in three-pointers made. She's worked her way from being an overqualified role player to landing herself as a co-star of this Bearcat women's basketball team. Whether she decides to pursue basketball after her time in green and white is done will be up to Caely. But as for now, she serves as inspiration to keep at it. From Bearcat Update, I'm Kassidy Davis, and I'll be back next week with more.
Thanks, Kassidy. The men's basketball team extended its losing streak in a heartbreaker on Wednesday as they fell 69-67 to Missouri Southern as Emory Knox's last-second buzzer beater rimmed out. Emory Knox led the way offensively as he scored a team-high 15 points, and his trio of threes led the Bearcats to a late lead of 4 points with under 2 minutes to go. Unfortunately, the Bearcats allowed a late 8-2 run to fall to 0-7 at home. But things on Saturday against Pitt State remain the same. The Bearcats put up the second most points in a game all season, but the Gorillas shot a ridiculous 64.7% from the field en route to 89 points. Guard Jadavion Byers scored a career-high 23 points. He nailed 4 three-pointers. It was the first time Pitt State beat Northwest in a decade, and the Bearcats were previously 17-0 coming into the game. At 4-2, the Bearcats are headed back on the road to face off against Northeastern State as they build momentum going into next year. The track and field team had a busy weekend as they competed in both the Ichabod Invitational and Gorilla Classic. It was Joel Dos Santos that starred on Friday as he set a new Northwest record in the 200-meter dash. During the day's events, 4 more provisional marks were set. Records kept falling as the weekend progressed as senior Moses Kamara scorched to a school record time of 7.79 seconds in the 60-meter hurdles. That time ranked second fastest in the nation. But that wasn't the only record to fall as sophomore Mason Hartley shattered the women's 3,000-meter school record by 5 seconds. The Bearcats shift their focus to the last chance meet next weekend before beginning the road to the NCAA championships in Indianapolis. But one of the members of the team has a unique ability to dominate not only on the volleyball court, but also compete in long jump. Lauren Slocum with the story.
One of Northwest's very own is preparing to say goodbye after 5 years as a two-sport Bearcat athlete. Kyah Luhring keeps herself busy during the fall being a libero for the volleyball team and in the spring running the 100, 200, and long jump for the track team. Although there can be many challenges that come with being a two-sport athlete, Luhring sees these challenges as benefits.
I feel like most of the challenges come with just not being there for every single thing. So I usually miss preseason for one of the sports and the preseason for the other. But I feel like it's almost a benefit sometimes because then you get to see 2 different things, 2 different weight room activities and different workouts. So it's almost a benefit.
Being a two-sport athlete, Luhring has learned to adjust to the very different environments that come with it. Volleyball is more of a team sport with a lot of communication, while running track is decided by how well you perform. Although these sports have their differences, they both hold the same goal, working to get a better score or time for your team. While being a Bearcat, Luhring has broken many records. She said her parents and sisters have been her biggest motivators. They tell her the honest truths when no one else will, which is what has shaped her into the athlete she has become. Luhring is an MIAA scholar athlete, holds a registered team best 466 digs, and set the school record for digs in a 3-set match. But her proudest accomplishment is when both sports won conference in the same year.
I would say winning conference for track and volleyball in the same year. We won outdoor conference for track and then volleyball conference regular season. So that was really cool in the same year.
Luhring's goal for her final season is to meet new people, set a PR, and make it to nationals. She has learned a lot from her time as a Bearcat, but the one thing she is going to miss the most when she graduates is the community and support that both sports have created during her time at Northwest. This has been Lauren for Bearcat Update. Back to you.
Thanks, Lauren. After a massive snowstorm hit the Midwest, a few things got shaken up. The softball team had a doubleheader scheduled for today at the University of Missouri St. Louis, but with it being postponed, Northwest will stay at their 4-5 record as reigning hitter of the week Alexis Brown and the Bearcats now shift their focus to the Washburn Invitational in Topeka, Kansas. They weren't the only team affected by the weather as men's and women's tennis also had their weekend plans cut short. The men would have competed against Lubbock Christian and St. Mary's as the women would have played Washita Baptist University and Lubbock Christian. However, they did not let the changes impact their matches on Friday as both the men and women overwhelmed William Jewell en route to their first victories of the season. In closing news, the golf team finds themselves ranked 61 in the nation ahead of the spring season starting a couple weeks from now. Senior Paige Hoffman was ranked number 83 in the nation, and fellow senior Madeline Schlepfa lands at number 23 in the nation as they close out their time at Northwest. They'll begin the season March 3rd at the Diffie Ford Lincoln Invitational in Edmond, Oklahoma. As we head into the first break of the show, make sure to stick around as we take a trip down memory lane. We'll be right back.
Kirsten, what are you doing here?
What do you think I'm doing here? Making TikToks? And it's not about what I do. It's about what we do here. So we start with storyboarding the content we want to create for our clients. It could be anyone from small businesses, nonprofits, and organizations both on campus and in the Maryville community. We write, we film, we edit, we create, and then we wait. So if you're someone who thinks you need us, we are KNWT Creative Services.
Hey, you.
Me? What?
Can you cook?
I think.
Can you break a world record?
I bet I could try.
Can you take on the wildest, most viral trends?
I think so. Well, on KNU, we take on the challenges and trends you're dying to try out.
Whether it's physical,
Mental.
Red light.
Or just downright crazy.
Green light.
think you have what it takes? Tune in Thursdays at noon to find out. Can you? Welcome back to Bearcat Update. Let's take a look into Bearcat past. Just a few seasons ago, the men's basketball team managed a feat known by few, a three-peat. From 2019 to 2021, the Bearcats relied on the dominance of guard Trevor Hudgens. After his 5 years here in Maryville, he left an indelible mark on the game. During a time where the game of basketball was shifting towards the outside shot, it was the shooting of Hudgens that flux some defenses. He finishes his career with 2,829 points and landed himself as the Bearcats' all-time scorer. With Hudgens handling the rock, Northwest had an immense 131-8 record. It should come as no surprise the small college basketball announced the creation of the award in honor of the Bearcat alum. The award honors a senior that has the finest overall four-year career in small college basketball. It is the highest honor a four-year player can receive in Division II. Every year, our athletes have the difficult task of balancing their play on the field while maintaining a high production in the classroom. For only the third time in the history of Northwest football team, they had two players named to the first team academic All-American team in the same season. It was seniors Andrew Dumas and Jake Fisher that joined the elite list of only 14 Northwest football players to be named to the first team since 1981. On the field, Fisher was named MIAA Defensive Lineman of the Year, and Dumas was named to the All-MIAA third team. Thanks for all the hard work, and we wish them the best of luck as they head into the next stage of their lives. But for more on the tremendous season Jake Fisher had, Killian Beck is going to show us how Fisher compares to the other greats in Bearcat past. Go for it, Killian.
The 2024 Bearcats football team was headlined by many things, but it was the interior dominance of Jake Fisher that kept fans watching from the edge of their seats. For reference, Jake Fisher finished the 2024 season with a dominating 35 tackles with 13.5 for a loss and 6.5 sacks. For his efforts on the gridiron, he was named an AP Division II All-American, as well as MIAA Defensive Lineman of the Year. But his hard work doesn't stop when the clock hits zeros, as he was also named an academic all-district member as he earned a 4.0 GPA in the classroom. But after such a stellar year from Fisher, I'd like to talk about the most recent Bearcat to be drafted in the NFL, as it was 2021 MIAA Defensive Player of the Year, Sam Roberts, that found himself a member of the New England Patriots after being selected in the 6th round with the 200th pick. While at Northwest, Roberts was a force in a multitude of ways, as he recorded 18 tackles for loss and 6.5 sacks in his final season in green and white. In his 3-year career, Roberts has maintained a spot with not only the Patriots, but gained an opportunity to play for the Carolina Panthers in the final games of the 2024 season. Roberts joined an elite group of just 7 Bearcats to be drafted into the NFL, showing that a good player can come from anywhere. It was the Bearcat mentality that got the NFL's greatest coach to say this about Roberts during his rookie season.
Yeah, Sam, like a lot of our rookies, I think you can really say this about just about all of them. He's flashed. He certainly had some good moments and good plays. It's a big jump for him. Level of competition, scheme, everything else, and he was one of the best at where he played. And, that's flipped now. So, but he's a talented guy. He works very hard. He's improved a lot. He's got a lot of room to grow.
Fisher has earned the chance to choose his path. With his play on the field, his NFL dreams are becoming reality, and with his dedication in the lecture hall, he has a wide array of career options that lay ahead of him. Even though his time with the Bearcats is coming to a close, I'd like to wish him well on behalf of everyone on the Bearcat Update crew. But as for now, I'm Killian Beck, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
With golf season just around the corner, it'll be none other than Paige Hoffman looking to chase Bearcat history. Already in elite status in the Bearcat record books, Hoffman has been named to the All-MIAA team in back-to-back seasons. The last Bearcat to do so was Cassie Lowell over a decade ago. With Lowell being named to 3 consecutive All-MIAA teams, along with being All-MIAA Player of the Year in 2012, she holds the Northwest medalist record with her 8 first-place finishes as she racked up 33 top 10 finishes in her career. 8 years after her playing days concluded, Northwest named her to the 2022 M Club Hall of Fame for her work on the greens. Hey, it's halftime. If you like what you see, make sure to like and subscribe and click the bell to be notified when we post new content. But as we head into our second break of the show, make sure to stick around to catch a new look at BCU with the Eggs. We'll be right back.
Welcome into BC with the X. I'm Wiley Ray with KZLX 106.7, and with me today in the studio is Jason. Jason, it's glad to have you here with me today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be with you here, Wiley. We got a lot to talk about, especially on the basketball side. Yep. Both men's and women's played this past week, and let's start off with the women's.
Yeah, you know, the women's go 1-1 on the week, and they get the win earlier in the week against Missouri Southern, and then they get a big jump out against number 5 Pitt State. And that one was an all gas, no brakes mentality coming into the second half. And it happened to go the other way. Pitt State was all gas, no brakes in the second half, altering the Bearcats' win. But, you know, still a good week nonetheless for the women's team.
Yeah, and you look at it, especially that first game against Missouri Southern, they were back to their old ways. They out-rebounded the other team. I mean, that's what won them those first few games. And then against Pitt State, yeah, it's a top 5 team. But also, when you go from scoring 44 in the first half to not even half of that, you score 15 in the second half. It's hard to get those wins. But switching over to the men's side of things, it was a completely different story.
Yeah, going 0-2 on the week. You know, Saturday's game being what some fans would call a heartbreaker, but a really hard-fought game for the Bearcats. Just happened to be a last-second shot fall in the hands of the Gorillas. You know, still a great week. Obviously, it's not the season you're wanting to. You're winless at home, which is the first time, you know, even having a losing record at Bearcat Arena since the 2000s. I mean, the worst record came in the 2010s with a 7-7 home record. And so seeing this and then seeing the future, you know, a lot of fans are sitting there going, you know, what do we expect in the second year of Keeley? And I still think a lot of fans should be okay, you know, with him coming back, they should be okay with him. He's not doing anything wrong. You have those growing pains, especially with a new coach coming into a Division II level team who's had MIAA championships the last 11 to 12 years. And so things are going to hurt, but at the same time, the Bearcat faithful just needs to just trust the process, truly.
Yeah, I think if it were another coach, I believe it was Mel Churchman that came in and went winless his first year with the football team, and look where he is now. And like you said, this is a completely different team. They've lost a lot of those key players, but one of the guys that has been a bright spot despite this game is Emery Knox.
Yeah, Emery Knox, a great player on the court, but Dante Distefano, our director, sat with Knox outside of the basketball court. So we're going to send it over to Dante Distefano with his interview with Emery Knox.
Bearcat guard Emery Knox was quite the baller in high school, making varsity his 8th grade year, and throughout his high school career went on to dominate the rest of the competition, averaging 16.5 points and 16 assists per game, which soon led him to his Division I offer from Charleston Southern University. playing 3 seasons there, then deciding to transfer to Washita Baptist University, averaging 13 points per game, then finally, with his last year of eligibility, making his way into that Bearcat green jersey.
I wasn't always the best. I had a lot of growing to do. Through those years, I just kind of learned how to, piece together my game and bring more to the table. There probably wasn't a day you couldn't catch me at the gym. My passion just kind of grew and grew over the years, and it became something I was really good at.
Some people look up to professional athletes to make them better players, but for Knox, his role models are the one at his hometown rec center.
People at the rec, not necessarily like the best people, but like they always like pushed me to be better. So it was always fun, and like all the older guys used to just like try and like rough me up and like get me to play harder, so I could always have like that toughness aspect to my game, which was really fun. And I used to go like every Sunday, so it was no complaining. I had older guys, bigger guys, like stronger guys, faster, like all of that. So I played against a lot of adversity, like kind of growing up.
When it comes to adversity, Knox knows a thing or two about playing top-notch competition and having to take his game to a new level.
In AAU, playing with like a bunch of like people that are ranked in your state as well as in the nation, I was just like kind of like starstruck, because you see people like on like Ball is Life and stuff like that, and you see him right here in person, and it's like, oh, like this is him, like okay, like he could hoop. A couple of them play in the league, a couple of them play like high Division I. They're doing good, so it's like just going from high school to where like I was like hometown to like a small fish in a bigger pond. It really kind of opened my eyes, because it's like there's really levels to everything.
This season, Knox has been a big impact for the Bearcats, averaging 12 points per game and being a great leader for the men in green. Knox's journey isn't over after this season, hoping to make his way overseas to play professionally. For Bearcat Update, I'm Dante Distefano, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Dante. And now it's time for my favorite segment here of BC with the X, Rays, Plays, and Highlights, where we break down 3 plays between Bearcat basketball. And Jason, starting out with this first one, looks really good for the Bearcats. Let's put it on the full screen. Knox sits on the left side of the top of the key, works over to the right, hands it off, nice little pass dribble. A lot of times he'll go with the screen. He wanted that, but still great play, ends up with a nice 3-ball for the Bearcats.
Yeah, right here, you notice Emory Knox, he's creating space on this play. He passes it off, dumps it off to the other side of the court. Right here, creates space, is patient. And this is what you'll cover right here, is the defender's layout is what nips them in the foot right here and allows for that open 3.
Yeah, and you just look at Atwater's footing. I mean, the first thing we'll talk about is flat feet. And a lot of times you learn that in high school, you learn that in middle school, and even in a game, even when you're going in game, some of those still happen. And so it happens to everyone, even at the college level. But this is really what gives Knox the confidence to shoot, is really just the flat feet. Then also going into that, he's not in defensive position. So if you look, hands aren't out, butt isn't back. He's not sitting in a chair. He's not hands out. He looks more like a penguin rather than a flying eagle. And so that, the hands being to the side, that really doesn't help his case for this to cover Knox. And that gives Knox the confidence to shoot that 3-ball. And, a lot of times if he puts that hand in the face, Knox either has to pass it or dribble it down. And I think if Knox even dribbled it down and drove to the lane, he's still going to come up with a shot. Taking on to our next one, Jason, this one doesn't favor the Bearcats necessarily in this one, but still a decent defensive breakdown for Northwest.
Yeah, this next one is what ended up being the game winner by Taylor here. If you look, he drove him down to the basket, but this is the main thing we're going to break down here is if you look at the way Emory Knox is set up here, he's on him. You got Moose down here in the corner. Mm-hmm. Emory Knox, flat feet, exactly what we talked about right here. Taylor knows he can drive right here because Moose also isn't in position to cover and be that help right there under the basket. It allows him to drive him straight to the basket. Yeah. Emory Knox has those flat feet, doesn't stand his ground right there. At least try and foul, at least make it contested, but he didn't right there, and that's what ended up hurting it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the defensive breakdown, and that really gives up that shot. And even having Glock come down, Glock playing help side, but Knox bumped into Glock, which takes away that extra defender, which ultimately gave him the next shot. And Jason, I know you like this next play, so let's take it full screen, and I'll give you the reins.
This next one is super frustrating. We're going to let it play out right here first. Potentially a game winner. I want you to pause it right there. So it was potentially a game winner right there. And you had Emory Knox got in on the rebound. I believe there were 3 seconds on the clock. I remember watching this live. During that last play, I don't know if y'all noticed, I didn't point it out during that last one, but Jack Radigan, he's the big man. He's supposed to be in the middle. He's your guy you're dumping it off to in the middle. Sitting at the top of the key right here. He's sitting in three-point range right there. Why do you think that is? In case they made the basket right there, guess who was heading down the court? Jack Radigan. Perfect timing. Took off right here. He's slightly off screen right here. Wide open, even right here. Emory Knox gets the ball right along this line. The problem that he had was he led the team 15 points this game. He knew he wanted the final shot. He didn't keep his eyes up. He was focused on the goal. He missed Radigan right down there. He even had Moose right here who was ready for the ball, and he didn't look up, didn't want to make that dump off because that gave number 10 right here enough time to get down here to defend him. He was coming in hard enough. It would have either A, been a foul and 2 points at the line, or a chance for an and one right there to win the game on 3, but it also gave these two defenders. I mean, Emory Knox is double teamed right there. It's a hard shot for anybody to take, even if you got Steph Curry out there. I mean, that's not a reasonable, not a reasonable shot, but it's a very unrealistic shot to depend on. And it also was for the game winner. He was focused on winning the game right there and not tying it and taking it at overtime. And that is what hurt them right there. They were dead set on winning the game, and it just didn't work out for them.
Yeah, and sometimes, you said it best, sometimes you just got to take it to overtime to let that game play out. And, the Bearcats with this shot, if they made it, that gives them momentum and that gives them a chance to win the game. That'll do it for Rays, Plays, and Highlights and Bearcat Update with the X. I'd like to thank Jason Holland for joining me in the studio this afternoon. We're going to send over to Jaden Varner with Next Week in Bearcat Sports. Take it away, Jaden.
Welcome back to Next Week in Bearcat Sports. I'm your host, Jaden Varner. And I'm Reese Hill. Back to give you the rundown for Bearcat Sports. Starting things off with baseball and softball. Softball was supposed to be in action today in St. Louis, but due to weather, those games have been canceled. Softball is slated to take on the Missouri S&T Miners Friday as part of the Washburn Invitational in Topeka, Kansas. The Bearcats have already played Missouri S&T and won by a score of 7-1 earlier this month. Alexis Brown was a main contributor, and I imagine she'll do the same thing again. Look for her to have a major impact this game and for the rest of the season. Softball will also be taking on Wayne State, Minot State, Concordia St. Paul, and Maryville. The Bearcats sit at 4-5 and have a great chance to add some wins.
For baseball, their game against Drury has been canceled due to weather. They'll now turn their attention to Missouri Southern as they head to Joplin for a 3-game series against the Lions starting on Friday. The Bearcats sit at 4-4 under new head coach Tony Jandren, and he'll face his first challenger from the MIAA in the 5-1 Lions. The Bearcats need to keep their bats hot against a stout pitching rotation. The Lions have only allowed more than 2 runs twice out of their 5 wins this season. Northwest in their last 2 games have scored 36 runs. They have the tools to win big in Joplin, and I expect just that, with my prediction having the Bearcats taking 2 out of 3 against the Lions.
Let's switch over from the diamond to the court and look at basketball. Women's basketball is in the midst of trying to turn their season around. After a dominant start to the year, they fell stagnant and now have picked it back up with 4 games remaining in the year. Caely Keston continues to be a superstar, just a week removed from surpassing 1,000 career points. Keston and the Bearcats will head to Oklahoma on Thursday to take on Northeastern State. When these two teams played last year, it ended in a Bearcat win 72-54. This will be the 15th matchup between the Bearcats and the Riverhawks. Both teams have 7 wins, and this game will break up that tie, and I expect the Bearcats to once again be on the winning end.
For the men's side of things, they'll also head to Oklahoma Thursday. They have struggled a lot this season, and being on the losing end of several close games has certainly hurt. With 4 games left, these will be big for morale heading into next season. This game against the Riverhawks will be a challenge, as they sit at 13-11 on the year. Look for Emory Knox to be an important player in this game.
Make sure to go out and support your Bearcats. That's all we have for you this week. We'll see you next week. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll keep you updated as our Bearcats head towards postseason play. But that's all the time we have for today. I'm your host, Jason Holland, and this has been Bearcat Update, the provider of complete coverage of Northwest sports. We are live every Sunday at 2, and you can find us on YouTube at KNWT TV. Along with Bearcat Update, you can watch KNWT's other content as well. Thank you all for watching, and we'll be back in no time.